It's 5:30. We'll start the meeting. It's 5:30. We're Monday the 12th of May 2025, General Committee meeting. In accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993, Cowra Council is recording General Committee and Council meetings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on Tuesday morning. By speaking at these meetings, you agree to being recorded. Please ensure that when you speak at this meeting that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I have an apology from Councillor Speechley. Any others? Can I take a motion to accept the apologies? Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Wright, thank you. Councillor Horton?
No, not necessary, thanks.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, passed. Disclosures of interest. Council and staff, please indicate in relation to any interest you need to declare. A, what report or item you are declaring an interest in, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and what is the nature of the interest. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 6.2 as a family member is involved in the submission, and I also own a business which leases property adjacent to the site.
Will you leave the room or?
Sorry, yes, I will leave the room. Thank
you. Councillor Horton.
Just like to declare a minor non-pecuniary interest in item 6.5, the incentive scheme grant from St Raph's, only that I have 2 kids that go to that school, but I won't leave the room. Thanks.
Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to declare a minor non-pecuniary interest in 6.5 access incentive scheme grant, as I have a son who attends the school, but I will leave the chamber. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to declare an interest in 6.5, non-pecuniary. I have grandchildren at that school. I will stay in the room. Do we need a motion to accept those? No, righto. We have no public presentations. We have no public forum. I'll take a motion to confirm the minutes of the general meeting held on the 14th of April. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing. Anybody else? Write a reply. Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 3.1, General Manager, the Regional Draft Resilience Plan. Can I have Councillor Kiss? Thank you. Councillor Watt? Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is just to note the completion of the Regional Drought Resilience Plan, and it actually covers a few of our local government areas, so Cowra, Orange, Blaney, Cabonne and Wedden. And look, it's a very comprehensive plan, but, I won't talk too long on it. But basically, when we talk about drought resilience, we're looking to try to work out what we're going to do before any drought occurs, because we know that they're going to occur. And it's not just on a physical basis. It affects the social dynamics of a community, the economic viability, and obviously the environment as well. And we've also got in this report that there are selected actions to be implemented with the additional funding that's been secured or will be secured as well. Thank you.
Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, I know many of us around the room know firsthand the challenges faced by our communities when, like us, we're dependent on agriculture. I myself run a business that's dependent on agriculture, and as I've spoken, many times before, growing up during the Millennium Drought, it's pretty prominent in my mind, the impact that can have on our community. I particularly just wanted to note the significance and I think the importance of tourism being a core part of this arm of how to balance our community. Cowra is very well placed in its tourism capacity, and we know that visitor spend accounts for around a third of the current economy in Cowra, which is much bigger than many of our neighbours, and it's a really important part that we continue to promote that in drought, because it provides some stability to our community. It allows our operators like hospitality and retail to continue to have some business in those hard times. But it is really important that we work on how we do that. We've experienced through speaking as the council representative to Cowra Tourism, we know there is always a really big impact when people are seeing on the news about droughts in regional areas or floods in regional areas. We had last year a real challenge where people thought that were calling to cancel things because they thought we were flooded in because they'd seen on the news somewhere that someone else was flooded. So it's really important that we as council tackle this on the forward front, and I think this is a good way to start that work.
Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you. I'm often a bit hesitant when I read these plans and strategies. I've trouble deciding what's a dry time and what's a drought. But the beauty of this report, I think that it covers the whole Shire as mentioned as a whole, not concentrating on the rural sector predominantly, and the effects it has on all businesses and community members within the Shire, and it strives to provide information up front how to be resilient when these sort of things happen and play out, where people may be able to go to if things aren't going real well. And I do note that they talk about climate change, and often after a drought the climate does change and it rains, and you wonder what it's all about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Downing, thank you.
Can beat that one, but just some of the actions that they mention in here that was in this project for these councils is upskilling business preparedness during drought, business and economic development, regional attraction and promotion of tourism, which is really important, and also the mental health support. So I think it covers lots of areas that we would find our community having problems with, and it's actually got some great ideas on how to get through this and how to help the community thrive during it. So I like it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Kiss, right, a reply?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just something else that it gave me pause to think about this. You know, we talk a lot about intergenerational wealth, you know, making sure that financially we're prepared for the future so that future generations aren't going to suffer through our decisions now. And I see this as being very much like that, but as far as being like intergenerational stability, you know, we're being prepared now so that future generation aren't as affected by any poor decisions now, and that we've laid a solid base for them to be able to thrive in the future. And thank you for the word there, Councillor Downing, thrive. I like that one. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. I wish we didn't have to have one of those, but hope we never need it. The fact is, if you look out the window, might be coming quicker than we think. 3.2, draft media and social media policy. Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Horton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so this is to adopt a draft media and social media policy and place it on public exhibition, but also during that public exhibition period to provide the draft policy to the employee consultative group. So to state the obvious, significant shift in how councillors and council staff engage with media now. You know, gone are the days where there was an organised interview or there was a local reporter that you might talk to or whatever. there are many ways now for councillors and council staff to trip themselves up and find themselves in a very awkward position, particularly if they're identified via social media as being a council staff member or a councillor, and are those the views of council that you're representing there. So we don't have all the answers. As is mentioned here, it's an evolving part of a legal framework, but it's important that we give some sort of guardrails and guide rails to staff and to councillors around, things to be mindful of, or maybe be careful about this. Be aware of that. It's not about trying to point fingers or slap anyone on the wrist, but it is actually about trying to help people in terms of what to look out for, what to be careful of. So I think it's a really good thing. And as is the case with most HR policies, this is a dynamic and living document, so it will continue to evolve over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is a policy that is definitely over time, I think, as far as our social media policy goes in particular. Fortunately, we've had quite a few opportunities to tweak it so that we've been able to work out things that might have been impractical for us as a council and work out how we can actually still maintain the ideals of the model policy and make it more workable for us. And again, as Councillor Horton said, it's mainly giving us those guardrails so that we don't go with any of those pitfalls. Gives us a bit of guidance, but no doubt we're still going to find a few holes in there that don't quite cover us. But I think it's a good start for us, and be interesting to see what our public says when it goes out on exhibition too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Horton, right of reply?
No, not required. Thanks, Mr.
I'll
Mayor.
put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Passed. Thank you. Item 4.1, Director of Corporate Services, Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee appointment of chairperson. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Horton, thank you. As you all would know, our previous chairperson, Ron Gillard, resigned, and we had to advertise for a new one. We've come across a very experienced, a man who seemed to have a lot of common sense. He spoke well at his interview, and I have no hesitation in recommending him for the position. Councillor Horton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, certainly a very impressive resume from what I could see. So, breadth of professional experience and involvement in a range of other ARIC committees at other councils and similar types of bodies. So, I think a good pickup for us. Thank you.
Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Downing.
I just had a couple of questions. There was a part where it says that he's indicated his willingness and capability to manage virtual contacts. So we're talking about him travelling quite a distance to get here. Are we going to be putting that in the budget? Isn't that should we know that he can cope with the virtual meetings before we employ him, or?
I'll put you through the director.
Yep.
But
and just
he
what
did
the
indicate
budget
that
is.
he would probably travel down, particularly initially.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that works. But I'll put you through to the director.
Okay. Just at the budget, how does that affect the budget?
Through the chair. Yeah, there is money in the budget for travel. We do have to go back and see if it can tolerate 4 trips a year from where he is, but my initial assessment was that the budget should be satisfactory. The comment in the paper about his travelling is to point out that he is enthusiastic about knowing the people that he's working with and being able to establish relationships with the organisation, and that's why he would. His first preference would be to be here in person. I think that certainly should be the case for the first couple of meetings, and then I think that we can explore opportunities for virtual meetings otherwise, because he is a very experienced candidate who's obviously used virtual meetings before.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? I'll have right of reply. He does live just above Byron Bay, poor bugger. I would think that probably after a couple of trips he could probably do it. But if that doesn't work, I'm sure he's prepared to travel. So we'll just see how that goes. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. 4.2, Investments and Financial Report. Councillor Watt, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're shaking it up tonight. I've put my notes normally to follow the specifics that Councillor Kiss talks about, but noting again that this is a strong performing report. Interest rates on our investments continue to perform above market rates, which is fantastic to see. And again, we are continuing to perform very well on rate collection, with $55,000 worth of rates collected in April 2025 and being below the outstanding rates that were in the previous 3 financial years. So thank you to our community on continuing to follow through on that, and great work to the team on being on top of that. Briefly, just to note that the report marks the end of the River Park amenities and Bow Street drainage loan and the Salyards effluent screens loan, and very good to see we continue to be in a good financial position and are banking those high interest rates while we can.
Councillor Kiss.
I actually think that Councillor Watt summed it all up, but especially when she said that we are, taking on those interest rates while we can. I thought that really highlights, because you have seen this slight downtrend in our interest rates on our investments, but well, we've made money while the sun shone, didn't we? Thank you.
Anybody else like to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Watt. Put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you. Passed. 5.1, Director of Infrastructure and Operations, the draft plan of management for the Bellevue Hill Crown Reserve, 84154. Councillor Watt. Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly to note, as the report articulates, this is coming back to us. This is a plan that we looked at a year or so ago, and it's coming back to us after being assessed for native title and being taken to the department. Importantly to note that native title advice at this point concludes that the adoption of this plan will not affect native title rights. And also, I think important to note, this was prepared before the Colston Park amenities had been renewed and had been completed. The report does show the anticipated plan, but the assessment of the condition, obviously, of the previous amenities in that aren't reflective of where we are now. But unfortunately, with the size of these types of plans of management, that is something that will come up. But important to note for our community that we have quite increased that part quite specifically. I had asked the director previously to give us some feedback on the sewer mains in particular. That was really the only area in this plan of management where we saw a quality rating above 5. Would I be able to ask through the chair to the director just to give us a bit of an update on the condition of sewer mains in this area?
Yep, I can answer that. That's through the chair. The condition rating of the underground assets is really age-based condition rating. So 6 out of 10 means it's 60% of its way through its assumed life. So sewer mains probably 80 years. I'd have to check that. So based with a score of 6, it's saying it's 48 years old.
Thank you very much for that. And we know these plans are really big pieces of work to put together, but I commend the director and his team for taking, we had a conversation earlier today about how they take this as an opportunity to collate those assessments of the conditions of all the assets in the space, and they're really good documents for our team to have and for us to see as it comes through to go, okay, where do we need to be planning for the future in this, and commend it to my fellow councillors.
Councillor Downing.
Necessary.
Does anyone else like to comment? Right, a reply, councillor Watt.
Not needed, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. Right, item 6, Director of Environmental Services, a DA. Direct Development Application number 10.2025.25.1, Lot 8, DP 739103-25. Walker Street, 25 Walker Street, Cowra, retaining wall and boundary fence, lodged by Andy's Design and Drafting. The property owner is MA and FM Lazarou. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Kiss. Councillor Wright. Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, basically this has come to us with regard to a retaining wall and boundary fence for the DA, and it's going to be higher than the maximum allowable, being that they're looking at 2.7 metres. However, if you look at the property on the other side, it ends up only being 1 metres. It's just simply because there's an imbalance between the ground height of the two properties that's varying between them, and I find no reason not to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
I think the report covers everything pretty well. The applicant is just trying to have a boundary fence that meets his need, and it's not overly imposing on the next door neighbours. So I think it should be right. Thank you.
Anybody else like to comment? I'd just like to say that we did approve the units down the back of that block, and obviously there will be vehicular traffic down that lane, so events would be as much about privacy as anything else, and I think it should go ahead. Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass unanimously, thank you. 6.2, Development Application number 102016.11.4, Lot 17, DP 1179358, 9 Richards Drive, Cowra, S4.55 LA, modification to aircraft hangar and pilot training school, which is continued use of mezzanine reconfigured from storage to office meeting room and addition of a flight simulator room. Mod 3, lodged by Fly Oz Proprietary Limited. The property owner is Fly Oz Proprietary Limited. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly don't need to continue and repeat all of that, but we're just looking to continue the use of the mezzanine, which is, up the top of the hangar. It's currently being used as office meeting room, and it's being now changed from being storage. I can't see any problems with that at all. The other section of it is to do with there being a flight simulator, which sounds like it'd be quite an interesting thing for Cowra to have. I thought they only existed in America, but clearly not. So look, it's going off to the side of where the hangar currently is. It is very close to the boundary, but it is actually within the Australian standards, so it doesn't necessarily meet our plans, but within our DCP, but it does meet the Australian standards. And look, rightly so too, it actually, you can see it on the plans that it's sitting behind some water tanks anyway, so it's not going to be visible from the road. It's simply a good use of space for something that I think is going to be an asset for Cowra. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So Councillor Kiss is right. It does impact on the setback, but it's still BCA compliant and still allows for some setback. There are already water tanks in place that take up about the same amount of room anyway. This is one of those things where council actually can have a positive impact on a business. So if this helps this business to continue to have the training capacity and maybe add to the business by having the flight simulator as well, well, maybe that brings more people to town. Maybe that brings more students through. Maybe there's ancillary benefits. So I think it's an absolute no-brainer. There is also there's still a 2 metre setback on to the other to the block next to it as well. So it's not like we've got buildings right up next to each other and we can't get in between them. So I can't see a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Downing?
I fully support this DA. Just having obviously work in a local gym, and Fly Oz regularly sends people over on their 3-month stints. They go through an incredible amount of training, and they have an incredible amount of people working there and involved in it. And if they need to reconfigure their space to make it more workable for them and to add this flight simulator, I'm all for that.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'd just like to say that I have inspected that hangar some months ago. There is a lot of room on the mezzanine up there. Visually, to me, it doesn't seem to be a great problem. And I would note that it's one of the success stories in the town, Fly Oz. They're a great asset, and even if we the setback mightn't comply and a couple of other things, I think we've got to look as favourably as we can. Councillor Kiss, write a reply.
Just to say that I'd like to commend Fly Oz on their initiative of the flight simulator. I actually hope you get to see what it is. It sounds fascinating anyway, but yeah, good on them.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. None against? Yep. Councillor Watt back in. 6.3 Planning Proposal PP 2023-884 Lot 2 DP 102-8751 Lynch Street, Cowra, seeking to amend the Cowra LEP 2012 by rezoning Lot 2 DP 102-8751 from SP2 Infrastructure to E3 Productivity Report, lodged by John Salas. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horton. Councillor Wright. Councillor Horton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this is the first one of these that I've seen where it's a request to change zoning. We don't actually know what the proponent might want to do with this parcel of land, should this be successful. But I would be happy to see something happen with this piece of land, should the proponent be successful here. So I have there's a huge amount of work. The amount of reporting and the amount of paperwork that's gone into getting this far is incredible. So hopefully all of that effort is leading us somewhere, and happy to support this application. As I said, there's been a huge amount of reporting, a huge amount of investigation done. There are no legal obstacles for us in terms of this rezoning, so I'm happy to support. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a very interesting and slightly confusing
It is.
application, this gateway determination. Originally it said it was subdivided or something in 2000, the year 2000. And I was of the belief that someone then, some local businessmen were going to build a motel there, but it was knocked back because they'd have to take some trees out, and the council at the time didn't want to, they wanted to preserve trees. So it sat there for a period of time, some 20 years or more. And I find it difficult how it could be sold if it seems to be, it can't be used for things until we get this gateway determination. Possibly it could have been used for housing. I got confused in reading it all. Also find it interesting that the applicant, previous planner that submitted the plans originally, was asked questions about their proposal, and the planning department of New South Wales, not our planning department, was not satisfied with the new with the questions, and it's been referred to our office, and one of our staff have done a lot of the groundwork to get this up to a form where it is acceptable to the planning authorities, and we hopefully that it will go through and they will be able to do something on there. It's be a long narrow block from what I can see, and getting it on and off the highway could be a problem, but that's for them to sort out going further. And I wish them all the best, and I won't preempt anything, but if we've done a lot of work to get this up to standard, I hope we're not putting ourselves in a conflict situation when it comes to voting on this. But I think everything's above board and been signed off by the planning department to start with, the New South Wales planning people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment?
Mr. Chairman, could I suggest whether the director wants to make comment in relation to what Councillor Ross just raised there? My understanding is that we are obligated to carry out the work if the applicant chooses not to. If you'd indulge the director to concur.
Yep, through the chair, that is correct. The applicant was initially asked to provide additional information. Council, in its capacity, kept chasing up with the applicant to provide the information. That wasn't forthcoming, so the department then put it back on council to provide the information, which we've submitted to them. And through chasing the department up, they're now satisfied with what we've submitted.
Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to ask a follow-up question on that, if that's allowed. Have we confirmed that the applicant is still interested in the change, but they just haven't provided us information of what they would like to do?
That, as far as we're aware, the applicant has actually continued and has actually purchased the land. They haven't conveyed to us what their intent for the land is. However, they are definitely still pushing to have the zoning changed.
Thank you for that. Just briefly, I would think it does put us in a difficult situation. Obviously, we're choosing what things we would like to allow with consent and without consent to go ahead. But personally, with this information, I'd still be supportive of changing it. I think when we look at the where it sits and the type of work that is going to happen there is, vacant land there that's next to the railway line. If it's not this particular person putting it forward, I think it's a really smart use of space to have some kind of industrial development there. And light industrial is the right piece of work because there is houses nearby. But it's vacant land in a good position close to a highway. So regardless, I think it's a reasonable decision to change it to E3.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Horton, right of reply.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just to confirm with everybody. So the process from here is it'll go on public submission, and so in the event that we don't get any submissions, then we'll proceed with the approval, and of course any future development would need to come back through council anyway. But the hope is, and from what I'm hearing, that some activity and some movement on this site would be well and truly welcomed, subject to it coming back through council. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed, unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 6.4, Section 355 Committee Draft Minutes, the National Resource Management Advisory Committee meeting held on the 17th of March 2025. Can I have a mover?
I'll move.
Thank you. Councillor Wright. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you. I am now a member of the NRM committee, or the Sustainability Committee that's going to morph into. I wasn't present at this meeting, just reading the minutes. They've gone through what they've got planned for the year and a lot of things of what they've been doing. And I think it's up to them when we start this new name, they'll probably hone down more onto on what they're going to focus on. The FOGO item is there, it's on the agenda, and it'll probably have take up some discussion as the state moves closer to the FOGO recommendation, as well with there's a list of things there that lines up with what we've got in our planning portal, and well, not a portal, our planning strategies and so forth. I received an email today that I don't know if it's actually under the NRM committee, but there's a land care group meeting, field day on Friday out the North Logan Road or Billamari Road, whatever you like to call it, on Narellan. No, is it Narell? It's something, one of the old properties out there on a new grazing management system just past the dairy. If anyone's interested, they can contact Scott Hickman to register their interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I think it's an exciting time for our what is or what was still but will be the Environmental Sustainability Committee. I think it's going to be very exciting times ahead for them. Lots of new things happening, and I'm sure Councillor Wright will do an amazing job on there as well. And look, I just wanted to also promote the Waste to Art. I've seen it promoted quite a bit on Facebook from Council. Looks like an exciting project, and I'm not an artist, but I'm sure even I could put something together. This program is Year of the Toys, and the entrance closed on the 2nd of June. So if you'd like know any more, have a look on the Council Facebook page. And yeah, thank you.
Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly to note, this in part is following through on some changes that Council made to the strategic plan in 2022 when we put a new strategic objective in our community strategic project. How many times do I have to say strategic? Of environmental sustainability. And we noted at the time and through the reflection on the different Section 355 committees that we needed to have a bit of a shift in that space, and actually the NRM had actually started to shift in consideration of a number of sustainability elements. You can see through the minutes we now have a sustainability officer, and there are a number of plans that are going to be developed in that space. So I very much support this shift, and I think it's in line with our change direction as council.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Kiss's recommendation is very, of my contribution, may be very flattering, but I'm there to balance the committee. Could be classed as environmental vandal sometimes in the operation of my business, which needs to improve. I think a lot of this, I think Councillor Fagan has taken on the chairmanship of the committee, and they have got 1 or 2, 3 new members, and I think that's been part of the reason they have got an exciting list of things going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. 6.5, Access Incentive Scheme Grant Funding. Application from St Raph's Catholic School. Councillor, what are you?
Yeah, I'd like to move something different. Thank you.
So, just you're staying in the room. 1,000 pardons. You're correct. 6.5. So St Raph's. I'll take a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to, my new recommendation would be that council declines request for the provision of $10,000 from the Access Incentive Scheme fund to contribute towards the cost of insulation of a glass sliding door and access ramp to the front office of the school. And second dot point that council revisits its guidelines as who can apply for this grant.
I have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Watt, thank you. Okay, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, councillors and mayor. I read this and my first impression was, oh, well, yes, they've got as much right as anyone else to improve the access into their building for the benefit of their students and other people that visit there. And then I read through it, and the builder's quotation was for 58,000. I thought, well, that's fair enough, but it didn't actually say how much was going to be spent on the door or the ramp. And then the school had a budget of $100,000 plus a $20,000 contingency. And unfortunately, then I read on the application further, and the owner of the business is the principal of the school, and that twigged a problem to me, because I don't think the principal would be the owner of the school. She might have to manage a budget that's set set for the school. And I'm not sure how the Catholic diocesan works, but no doubt that they'd have a financial operation at Bathurst there that would allocate funds to the various schools and have to be operated under. So therefore, for this application to be valid, I think it should have come from the Bathurst diocesan or whoever runs the school or group of schools, and so that the actual owner of the school knows what's happening there. And then I thought, well, if a public school come to us and ask for a donation to this, I would think, well, they're putting something in that the Department of Education has to ensure their schools are up to date with access regulations. And therefore there'd be a budget in the education system, I would have thought. And that's what happened at the public school. I think they spent over $600,000 at the Cowra public primary school, because they had one student that was on a wheelchair or had access things so they could get up and down the stairs and around the thing and around the school. The high school had to put a lift in, I think, to get up to some of their levels. And then I thought, well, yes, we could consider St Raphael's as a private business, but actually it's still getting Commonwealth money to operate that business as well as the private money. And I feel that in this situation, they should be responsible for gaining access, for improving the access for their students and visitors. I was of the belief this fund was set up for small businesses that, for no reason of their own, have an existing business, but then they've encountered the problems with getting access into their business with people with a disability or impairment that mean they can't step up or so forth, or can't open a door and go through. So it's not nice to decline this operation. St Raph's do provide a very good school curriculum down there, and we've helped them a lot of times in some of their programming. But I think this is more of a capital item, and I don't think it's our place to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Wright for your consideration of this issue. I seconded it for consideration because I am quite torn on this issue, but I think in listening to Councillor Wright and considering it at this point, I will be voting in favour of the amendment, which would be to reject this application at this time. I have kind of two concerns specifically for this application. As Councillor Wright raised, we don't have an itemised quote put together, and the scope of works is very broad. I think we potentially, are in a situation where we could be funding more than what is put forward here. I'm not making that allegation, but I think we just need that element of clarity around it, and would ask the applicant to consider that and potentially put it forward again if they were interested. And it was my intention to raise that through this before we consider it at our committee at our general meeting in 2 weeks. But I do also have quite a bit of concerns about funding infrastructure in schools. While it isn't a public school, they do receive significant public funding, as Councillor Wright said. We do have the challenge where repeatedly, I know we see in non-public education institutions, they don't keep up to the same standard as public education in terms of accessibility, but also in terms of support for neurodivergent kids and a number of elements in that space. And there is that challenge in that of what we do in that space. But I think realistically, this is a educational institution that receives funding from the state government and is a significant capital investment in an institution owned by the Catholic Church. It is very different to the intentions of the AIS, and I think Councillor Wright's suggestion that we have a look at those guidelines is very sound. And we did articulate when we adopted the changes to the AIS in, I think, 2023, that there was a need to assess that over time, and activities of the last couple of reports that have come up in the last couple of months have highlighted our need to make some decisions around how we engage with schools. But like a number of us have discussed over time, there is a difference in choosing to fund something like a school spectacular, which isn't part of the traditional role of a school, but they're supporting kids to do something that is outside of the curriculum and is outside of the traditional space, but maintaining a facility to appropriate standards, I think, is in the core business of running a school. And unfortunately, at this point, I will support the rejection of this application, but really focusing on, I want to look at that second point of, let's look at some analysis of this, maybe talk to other councils about what they do in this space, so we can make sure we've got our guidelines locked down. We do have a limited budget in this space. We do have quite a significant budget due to the AIS not being taken up for about 15 years, but we have been really successful, I think, in the increase of in the changes we made in 2023, I think it was 2023, to increase it to $10,000 and to remove the co-funding matching. And I think it has a lot of potential to change spaces that are really inaccessible and for organisations that don't have the capacity in the same way. So thank you, Councillor Wright, for raising this.
Anybody else like to make any comments? Councillor Downing?
I had a couple of questions. So some have been touched on, but it says that 120,000 is the actual amount of the whole project, but the doors are only the 58,000. And I would agree with Councillor Wright and Councillor Watt that we don't have a breakdown, because some of that is paving going into the school, and not that quote doesn't just focus on those doors, which would what we would be funding, not the pavement out the front. Is that correct?
Through the chair, what they've applied for is funding for a new access ramp into
Right. Okay.
the entry,
Thank you.
plus the glass sliding doors.
Yeah. And then
Removal of the existing.
so my next question, thank you, Larissa. My next question was, the school has an ABN. Are they not classified as a business? What's the classification of the school?
I'd have to take that on notice.
Okay. And then my other question was what Councillor Wright touched on, that who owns the building. Obviously, the Catholic Church owned the building, so we would be upgrading something for a very wealthy business. Oh, is it a business? I don't know. Yeah, so that would be I'd be happy to support Councillor Wright. I looked at this first and thought it was great. It is accessibility. It is hasn't already started. It's only the 10,000 is only a percentage of the amount, but as I've thought about it, and I've kind of changed my mind.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? I'd like to say that I think this is a very vexed question. There are so many unclear items about it. I'd be very surprised if the Diocese of Bathurst don't own the building. I'm sure they would. Whether we should fund schools, and they're funded, without a doubt, Councillor Wright is right, they're funded by the state government as well as the Catholic Church. I would have thought this fund was to bring up to what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, we'll bring up to standard entrances that are not up to standard. And when you're building on all of this, I thought that would be part of the DA, that we would require them to bring it up to this standard. So I don't see that this is what the fund is for. But that's my opinion for what it's worth. So write a reply, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not a pleasant thing that I've moved to decline this request, and I've no doubt that if they provided a breakdown of the builder's figures, that it will be more than $10,000. But I'd still like to know what a door costs and what the ramp costs, just out of interest, rather than someone writing down $10,000 because that's the limit of the subsidy that we're providing. And as far as ownership goes, well, I'm not prepared to accept that the principal's the owner of the building, and I think I've had a little bit to do with the Anglican Church, which would be quite a lot different to the Catholic Church, I know, but it's all run by the dioceses in the area, and they might even have sub things to run the schools separate from their church. But I think I'd like to see some form from who actually owns the church and what they're doing, and I'm not knocking this back because I perceive that the church has got a lot of money and they don't need help, but I perceive that they have a budget, as I said in an email to council this morning, that is probably equal or considerably more than our council budget to run our shire, and at some point those businesses have got to take responsibility for upgrading their facilities to meet what their needs for their students and visitors, and I can see that it probably needs to be done, but there might be a different way that it will be done. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour of Councillor Wright's motion that we decline the request, I think it would be good to show hands just for the sake of the cameras. So thank you very much. Councillor Wright's motion is passed. No, not that. Okay. No late reports. Any notices of motion? No confidential matters. I'll declare the meeting closed at 6:24. Thank you very much, Councillor Watt.